Good evening. We are here for the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, June 18th, 2024. It is 5 o'clock p.m. Calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Present. Here.
Rio?
Here.
Here. Here. I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Wyoming Statute 16-4-405A7.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner North, seconded by Commissioner Laird to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session till 5:30.
Oops, sorry. Do you have the?
Kevin Christensen on the district manager.
So you guys have a seat. We're gonna get started and whatever, and I'll let you know.
Sounds good. Michelle,
Yeah.
we can't get going till you or Tracy are in here.
Oh.
Here comes Tracy.
We will continue with our regularly scheduled meeting. We are out of our executive session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Friel?
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw the county's ASCP grant application and the county's May 7th approval of the MRG funding for fiscal year 2025.
I'll second.
I said I'd second, but I didn't have my microphone on.
As a point of order, I think it was to amend the agenda. Do we need to amend the agenda with that motion?
We need to make an amendment to the agenda so that we can get this motion, get a motion on,
Right. So,
reference the MRG, and then go from there.
so while I appreciate the motion, I would hope that the motion and the second are withdrawn.
I'll withdraw my second.
Withdrawn.
Is there a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
In what manner and respect?
Need to amend the agenda to,
To add the consideration.
there you
of
add
Delta
consideration of the Delta MRG.
Is there a second to amend the agenda in that respect?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Milne, seconded by Commissioner Laird. Any discussion to amend that agenda, add that item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there an additional amendment to the agenda in regard to the 6th cent? Commissioner Friel?
Mr. Chairman, I will amend the agenda to add the 6 cent, City of Casper's 6 cent request added to the ballot.
So we're adding that. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Friel, seconded by Commissioner Milne. Both of these items would be added under the contracts, agreements, and resolutions. Madam Clerk and Michelle. So any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Did you two vote on
Amendment.
the amendment? So we have two that voted. I will also move as an aye for the addition of that item to the agenda. So that passes. This time we will consider the consent agenda items. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda items by Commissioner Milne, seconded by Commissioner Friel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Next, under contracts, agreements, and resolutions is the matter for the consideration of the Delta MRG. As a background, on May 7th, this board approved the fiscal year 2025 funding of the minimum revenue guarantee for the Delta flight in an amount not to exceed $595,000 for those 12 months. On Monday, yesterday, the airport board advised that it was recommending that this Board of County Commissioners not fund the MRG. My understanding is that the airport board made its recommendation after considering availability of funding from various sources, the long-term viability of the Delta flight, and the value proposition of the Salt Lake Casper flight. So based on that recommendation, it seems appropriate to consider the withdrawal of this county's ASEP grant application to the State Aeronautic Commission and the county's May 7th approval of funding its share of the Delta MRG. Commissioner Friel and Commissioner Milne, you made and seconded the motion on May 7th. Would you like to make?
Chairman, I'd like to make the motion now to withdraw the county's ASCP grant application and the county's May 7th approval of the MRG funding for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll go ahead and have discussion. Commissioner North.
I'm sad that we're gonna lose a second air carrier in this city, but, I'm not gonna say I told you so, but I was afraid that this was gonna happen at some point in time. It's just a sad situation, and I hope that we can recruit a different carrier to come in here to pick up slack. This is a Delta issue, and I want to make sure everybody understands that that's a Delta issue because they continue to raise the price and give us less and less for that. And that's where the problem really was. So I am sad that we're losing that service, but I hope that we can recruit an additional airline to come in to the city and help us out.
Thank you, Commissioner Laird.
Big business is what happened, and we supported it, didn't work out, support's withdrawn, and now we can spend the money on what I think are bigger and better things. And so it just ends one chapter. Hope the airport board, I know they've been looking for another airline to come in here, and hopefully they'll find one. But in the meantime, United is here and taking care of the people. So this is just something that happened due to what big business decided to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Friel.
No, the only comment I have on this, I mean, we have not lost Delta yet. Obviously, they're gonna pull out of here without having the MRG. I think that we have shown over time, we've been over backwards to keep Delta here, and every time we put more money towards them, the prices keep going up, or they change the way things are done. So unfortunately, we get to a point that you got to stop the bleeding, and if we end up losing something, we end up losing it. I hope we'll have another airline that comes in here and takes their place, but we cannot sustain putting this kind of money out, just have another change take place tomorrow.
Thank you, Commissioner Milne.
Yeah, so from the very beginning, we always said that we'd reevaluate and continue to reevaluate, and that it never did have a pleasant aftertaste on this MRG, but we were doing it as a means of economic development, or attempted. This is just part of the process. Said we'd reevaluate it, and we did. This is a result. the funds are, you know, we are withdrawing our support at this point, just like we said we would.
Yeah, I thank you. I think that this commission did get less and less comfortable with this MRG, and I think we're very clear about that. I think that it would not have passed last time, but for basically the city of Casper and private industry and individuals stepping up as we requested they do to pay something toward this, because everybody remembers that it used to be 100%, that 60% used to be paid fully by the county. I'm appreciative of the efforts of Fly Casper Alliance, of the airport board and its executive director. I'm appreciative of the city of Casper stepping up and being willing to pay for some of this MRG. But at the end of the day, things continued to, I think, look worse and worse from, again, that value proposition. Are we getting our money's worth, and are we headed in the right direction? And I think we can rely on the airport board's recommendation. They looked at this very closely. I think, you know, their recommendation, I put a lot of weight on it because they know how important that Delta flight is, and how much that second carrier distinguishes the city of Casper and our airport from other communities in this state. Hopefully we will get another carrier. I don't want to suggest that there will be a cost, an MRG cost or some other kind of cost in doing that, but I know that that is very customary across the nation, and I hope we can avoid that, but I know we sure would like to get a second carrier. With that, I would ask for all those in favor of withdrawing the county's grant application and the county's May 7th approval of MRG funding, to say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the consideration of the City of Casper's 6th cent. There's a draft resolution 44-24 authorizing cities and towns within Natrona County, Wyoming to propose a municipal tax under Wyoming Statute 39-16-204A6. The resolution has been drafted at our work session today. We heard from the mayor and the city manager at length. We asked a number of questions, expressed a number of concerns. The county asked about some of the issues involving the assessment of that 6th cent and how that occurs, and whether that occurs if you order goods online, if you order or if you go to a Casper-based store. I'd like to open it up to our commissioners. Commissioner Laird, do you want to, well, I guess what we should do more properly is entertain a motion to approve this resolution 44-24, and then we'll have discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 44-24.
I'll second for discussion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Friel, seconded for discussion by Commissioner Milne. Commissioner Milne for discussion. Go ahead.
So, another tax. This tax would only affect Casper as such. They would be the only ones collecting it. Only the citizens of voting citizens of Casper would get to vote on it. I am hesitant because Casper is the largest city in Natrona. Majority of all of our services are within Casper. There's no Walmart in Mills. So regardless, Natrona County citizens are going to end up paying some of those taxes. We heard quite a bit about online whether they do or don't collect the taxes based off of zip code. So there is that. But there's a lot to it as well on the other side. As a county citizen, I use Walmart all the time, so I'll be paying that tax. But I also use Second Street all the time, which that tax would go to help fix that street maybe. The only thing that the county residents will lose is the choice of whether or not, of that selection of lists. They're going to put the tax out in a smorgasbord, a list of whether they want it voted on for a ski lift for Hogadon or to fix Second Street or whatever the projects are. They didn't have that list for us yet. But as a Natrona County citizen, I utilize a lot of the county or city support structure and services. And yet, other than sales tax and the like, I'm not paying some of those taxes in the city, just like, so it's a give and take. Whether with the, you know, there's two Cowboy Kmart's, there's one over on the west side and there's one over in Evansville. You know, is it worth a couple of bucks or a buck for me to drive across town to get what I need? I don't know. I'll have to make that decision. But what I am in favor of constantly and always have been and always will continue to be is in support of allowing citizens to vote for themselves. I do not want to vote for 50,000 people on my own. I'm not into that. I'd rather let them make that decision. That's whatever the population of Casper is. So with that being said, I'll probably support it.
Commissioner Friel, if you'd like, or since you made the motion, you can go last. It's up to you.
I'll let Dallas go.
Commissioner Laird, I know you're wanting to speak to this.
Well, of course, I'm a lawyer, you know, it's my job to speak. Let me see if I can unwrap kind of a complicated issue. The state legislature passed these laws that allow cities to come up and ask these citizens to vote on a tax. And they provided, in the first instance, the legislature provides that Casper and Mills and Bar None and the other cities surrounding Casper could get together and get their laundry list of things they would like to have the citizens pay for. And the smaller towns did not agree with what Casper wanted to do. And so they're not a part of this. So Casper and the state legislature gave Casper the authority to, okay, we can still do it if we want to. One little town can't stop us from putting it on the ballot. And I keep saying putting it on the ballot. We're not going to vote on whether you should be taxed. You're going to vote on whether you should be taxed. So that has to be very clear in your minds. You are the voters. You go out when this thing gets on the ballot, which will be, I think, on the general ballot, and the city has a list of things that they want to do, all of which are really pretty good. One of the ones that's my favorite is the Metro Center for our furry friends. I think we really do need to rebuild that and build a new one. Cheyenne did it, and I'm a dog lover, and I'll stand up for that. Now, there are other things on there I didn't trip my trigger, but they'll trip somebody else's trigger, like another sheet of ice at the hockey rink. I coached hockey for 17 years. I'd like to see another sheet of ice for our children. But it's up to you. And so what we're asked to do, and what the state legislature did, was to say that if Casper wants this tax, they have to come and get our authority to put it on the ballot. It's really an authority I wish they hadn't have given us. It's kind of weird, but I also am a county commissioner, and the state statutes say that I represent the whole county, and that's people in this city and that live inside Natrona County. Now, if you don't live in the city, the tax will not affect you, supposedly. This is what I'm being told. And that means, so if you live in Mills, but if you come to Casper and you buy stuff at Walmart, you're going to pay a 6-cent tax. But the people living outside of Casper don't vote on this. And I really don't like that idea, but what happened was those cities made a decision not to do this. And so as a result, they don't get to vote on it. They voted. And I'm for the people voting, you know. Whatever way they vote, if their city doesn't want to do it, fine. And they didn't do it. Casper has done it, and now Casper is asking all the city residents, when it gets on the ballot, to support the 6 cent. Now, what it's going to be, it's going to be a laundry list, maybe of 10 or 15 items. So you either vote yes or no. If you vote no on all the items, and that's what carries the day, the tax fails. If you vote yes on the Metro Center, for your furry friends, and that's the only thing that gets a yes, then there'll be a tax until that's paid for. That's a $5 to $7 million item, as I understand it. But the way the statute is set up is once, whatever you vote in, once the money is collected up to a certain amount, and I think it was somewhere around $35 million, once that money level gets to that level, the tax stops and doesn't go forward. That's it for that tax. It doesn't just go on for the rest of your life, unless for some reason you voted in again or voted out again. So I am like Mr. Milne. I believe that our citizens are the ones that should vote on this subject. Because if I had to just vote on the 6 cent myself, I'd vote against it. But I like the laundry list thing. I like the idea there's certain things that this town needs to do to stay alive and keep going and look good and get other people in here to come to our event center and everything else that you've all paid for over the years that makes us Casper, Wyoming. Not some rundown heap of a town. But it's you who gets to say it, and I'm for that 100%. I want you to have the right to decide what you want to do with it. That's where I'm coming from.
Commissioner North.
I agree with what the statute says, but what I disagree with, and I've seen it before because it's happened to me. If you order something and you live in the county and you have a Casper address, I've been charged the Cheyenne tax, and trying to get that back is almost impossible. So if you're living in the county and you're buying something on the internet, you don't have a vote on this tax, but you could get taxed. I'm not going to guarantee you will, because they said that the Department of Revenue is taking care of this. From what I've seen with the Department of Revenue, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in their accuracy. I don't have anything personally against what Casper's doing, bringing this forward and the way they're doing it. But I think that the statute needs to be changed to clarify things, to make it so that it is specifically brick and mortar stores within the municipality. And that's where that tax is gathered. I wouldn't have an objection to it then, because then if you choose to go to those stores and buy things, it's up to you. But if something goes out from the Department of Revenue to online locations like Amazon, they see Casper and they can charge you. It's easier for them to charge you that additional penny than it is for them to go through and try to figure out if you're exempt from that because you live in the county and not actually in the municipality. That's where I have a problem with this. And that's what I've told everybody. That's That is taxation without representation, because the people that are in the unincorporated areas of the county that have Casper as their residence listed as their address, you could get taxed without that possibility. That's where I have the problem with this. And that's the biggest thing that I have with it. I would like to see that statute fixed so that so it is more clear, so that Casper's a unique situation, because we're about the only place in the state that has a bunch of small towns surrounding a big municipality. So it's unique. It's unique in a multiple of ways. Unfortunately, this is a uniqueness that doesn't work in our favor at this particular time. So that's where I have trouble with this.
Thank you, Commissioners. My thinking on this is that the statute does envision this, the situation does envision the voters of a municipality being able to vote. Mr. Napier said 57,000 county residents are City of Casper residents. I am certainly mindful of wanting them to have to control their own destiny in some respects, and be able to vote on this and be able to vote on each of these projects. You know, I can tell you that while the list of projects hasn't been finalized, there's been some preliminary discussion of a number of recreational projects that I am very aware that many non-municipal, non-City of Casper residents utilize. I think that we are a community, and like Commissioner Laird was saying, we want to be an excellent community, one that is a draw for folks outside our community and is a place that our kids want to live in for the rest of their lives. Interestingly, I think it's interesting that I have a City of Casper shipping address as Casper 82609, but I personally live outside the municipal boundaries. I live on the east side of town, but I'm a county resident. If this passes, I'll be really interested to see if when I order from Amazon or order online from Walmart or whatever, that those companies get it right. I fear that they won't. I fear that they won't care, and I fear that I'll never get my money back because of what I said in the work session would be brain damage in trying to fight Walmart or try to fight Amazon or try to get the Department of Revenue to send me money. But I do have a belief that the statutory process envisions the voters having a right to choose. And I also believe that we have the unique ability in this country to contact our legislative representatives and our governor and advocate for changes to statutes. And this might be one that needs changing, and regulations might need to be worked on. And so we'll see what happens if this passes. It's a 2-year deal. It's not a forever deal. And so, I don't know if I will be required to vote on this, but I see a lot of merit in it, even if I personally might be one of those that doesn't get a choice on the ballot, because it won't be on my ballot. But in any event, that said, all in favor of Resolution 44-24.
Mr. Chairman,
Did you not say anything yet?
you asked
Why am
if I wanted to go last. I deferred to Dallas. And
Nah,
you took the
you're
mic,
good.
so-
And you let me go on that long.
I did.
Wow.
I did.
All right. Well, let's vote anyhow.
All right.
Commissioner Friel, thank you.
No, I'll make this brief. When the discussion was first had about the 6 cent, it was the 6 cent across the board. And other municipalities, their councils did not want the 6 cent. And so now we've come to a point where the city of Casper has come to us to ask that we place it on the ballot. Go back to what Jim says and what I said earlier today. For us to not put it on the ballot, you're almost asking each of us to individually make a decision for everybody within the city of Casper. That's 58,000 people that we're making a decision for by not putting it on there. The idea behind putting it on is that it's a list of projects, and they can vote yes or no on those projects. If they pass, they pass. If they don't, they don't. But the idea behind it is that people get a choice, and they get to make that decision whether they want the projects to move forward or not. So I am in favor of putting this on there. I want to point back to an email that we got from the mayor of Mills, Mayor Juarez. She even said that they didn't have the support from their council, but she understands, and she wants her people to understand within her community that there are things that are potentially on that list, Metro being one of them, that is very much utilized by their city, and she feels that it needs to be supported because that is definitely one project that needs to be taken care of. So I'm for this, and I'm for this mainly for the reason that I'm not going to sit up here and say no and not give the voice of everybody else. Let them have their own voice. So that's all I had to say. Now, if you want to vote on it, we can.
Probably want to talk again.
I do. Thank you. All in favor of Resolution 4424, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We don't get to say?
The next item is public comments. We have a number of guests. Welcome. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. If you don't need 5 minutes, don't take it. If you don't have something new to say, please consider not saying it. Come on down.
Rosemary Saban, Natrona County resident. Dallas, what you said is a cop out and you know it. Just because the legislator grants authority does not mean you have to exercise it. This is taxation without representation for the people of the county. And as agreed by this commission, there's too many questions that remain unanswered. This was voted on incompetently. Delta leaving is, and they are flying away with a couple $1 million of taxpayer dollars, just for the record. If something is economic, it will develop without subsidization or welfare, as I see it. Property taxes have increased, and so too the budgets. As a result, all of the sales from around the state of Wyoming, and especially some counties like Natrona, through recent years, based off of artificially inflated and speculative values. Where does it stop? Electric rates, fuel prices, insurance costs, groceries, water, and everything consumable in general has resulted in compounded cost and purchase prices. The attempt to codify the optional 1 cent or 5th cent sales tax through the theft of the people's vote was a deliberate act of treachery. It was the direct result of poor management and even poorer representation. This new act of treacherousness is a plaguing sickness that has been allowed to spread without resistance, quarantine, or immunity. The 6 cent is a second wave of the most vile, mutating, greed-driven, and derived pandemic. Taxation without representation for the people residing in the county, being forced to fund infectious and incestuous electives with zero accountability held by themselves or the people. This was perpetuated long ago by past efforts, but really became acutely visible through the sale of the county hospital. What a sham. $100 million and far below the appraised value. The money was invested in the collective health trust, was established to fund a pack of self-serving villains from the city council and alike who are, or so it would seem. The stated purpose is to support delivery and accessibility of high-quality health care services throughout Natrona County. Quality and patient concerns were also said to be of high importance. Do the residents of Natrona County agree that's what we're being provided? Ray Pacheco was listed in the key employees and officers for the collective, compensated at nearly $80,000 a year, $78,269 to be specific, with $11,314 listed as other. The constitutional amendment, otherwise known as Amendment A, was placed on the ballot and was strongly supported by Paul Bertolio during his last campaign. It was said that its passing would help to alleviate the funding issues with the county. Even Lisa Scroggins believed that to be evidently so based on her testimony during the May 21st, 2024 work session at 1 hour 37 minutes. The hospital is unobjectionably affecting this entire county. As Mr. Friel stated in summary, when he was finally granted an opportunity to question the hospital board, employees are quitting and hiring is done at a glacial pace. Potential employees are declined for fitness and background, according to Porter. People are going out of town and in several instances out of state for quality health care. Mr. Porter indeed has excuses and justification for everything, but very little accountability. I agree with Mr. Laird that he should be fired. The people and doctors have contacted Mr. Laird and other commissioners admittedly numerous times with a multitude of consistent complaints and feedback. The people, and especially seniors, don't have confidence, they are afraid, and fear can only logically and reasonably cause further health conditions. Mr. North has remarked on the money being otherwise spent by the collective, partially funding the senior center and hospital. Other concerns have been noted in previously invested money from the hospital sale into portfolios and select profiteering at the expense of the taxpayers. Banner Health's reputation is strongly lacking. Their focus is on volumes and money. Corporations thrive on money that shouldn't ever be a compromise with health care. People are not numbers and mere products of production. Mr. Milne, your concerns about unproductive accusations coupled with your remarks at the last meeting no longer have the people buying that you're a man of the people. If the public want to comment until the next day, that's their prerogative. They don't work for you, you work for the people. If you require reminding, are you concerned that your vote to sell the hospital along with Chadwick, Kaufman, Bertolio, and Henry present a few things to explain? I'd like to know exactly why this commission is resistant when approached to just simply dissolve the 10-year contract with the calloused corporate money-driven Banner Health. The people would benefit if they could sell out to any number of quality health care providers. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Candace Machado, the Mayor of Evansville. I'm coming to talk to you guys tonight specifically on the 6 cent topic. So because I was on council when we originally had that discussion back in the fall, I was the council president at that time, not the mayor. During that conversation, when our former Mayor Edwards had come and talked to us at the council, he had discussed with us whether or not if we would be for or against putting a 6 cent potentially on the ballot. There was no additional conversation with my council at that time or additional information that was provided to me back in the fall regarding when this would be coming up or what this would be looking like. I have been a mayor of Evansville for 18 weeks now, and I got placed into that position due to our former mayor getting medically ill. So I got placed into this position, but in the last 18 weeks, I have not been emailed, messaged, notified by anyone from Casper or anyone regarding that this was going to be a topic of conversation. So I'm here tonight to talk to you guys specifically for my residents who potentially do not have a voice in this matter. I've listened to all of you speak very eloquently up here regarding the statutes, the concerns, but I'm coming specifically for the residents of Evansville that I understand that we are in a position where the smaller municipalities, we don't have another situation like this in Wyoming where we have smaller municipalities that are kind of attached to a larger city like Casper. But I would say that it's very concerning that we would be putting something potentially on the ballot that my residents don't get a vote on. Evansville doesn't have grocery stores. We don't have a Walmart in our city limits. We don't have those things. So we have to rely heavily on all of our stuff to go into Casper. I'm not saying that I'm for it or against it. The problem that I have with it is that my residents don't get a voice when it comes to voting for this. And so that's a concern for me. The other concern was that I was not notified at any point in time coming into this mayoralship. The last conversation that was had was in the fall of last year. And that was the last that I had heard about any of this stuff getting talked about. I actually found out about this discussion coming up from an Oil City News article, and that's when I had contacted my town clerk, and I had contacted a couple of people trying to understand why, as a mayor of a town, why I'm hearing about it from an Oil City News article. You could probably see my predicament in regard to that piece. But as an Evansville resident myself, I'm having a hard time understanding why I don't get a say or I don't get a vote. I understand that the councils were not for this situation last year, but at least I would hope that you guys would understand, from me being placed into the mayoral position for a town of a little under 3,000 people, I'm here to be a voice for them tonight and to say, you know, I'm struggling with the fact that they won't get a voice and a say in regard to this getting placed. They don't get a say. Casper gets a say, but my residents will not get a say. And so I would like to at least speak for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a minute. Good evening.
Chairman, Commissioners, Kurt Simpson, 9695 Osage. In light of what she just said, and also that was exactly my thinking, I'm not necessarily against the tax. I don't agree with it altogether. It may be funding some very necessary things for Casper. My problem with it, all of the county residents, Evansville, Mills, everybody else, is not going to be able to vote on it. That's where I have a disagreement with it. We'll have to pay it if we come to Casper, or the other choice is go someplace else to shop. Just in the shopping, that everybody uses a lot of other facilities in Casper, and I understand that. Supporting them is not a bad thing. Not having a say-so and having to help pay for some of those things, that's not right. If it's going to be on the ballot, it should be on all the ballot, so that everybody in the county has the same amount of say as to what they're going to be paying for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Kyle True. I'm with Prism Logistics, and I came to very briefly give you an update to let you know that we continue to find positive results in assessing the resource and impacts of a gravel operation at the south end of Coates Road. And so there are a lot of topics you guys have to deal with. I just wanted to give you a personal update that we are continuing to move forward. We anticipate receiving a LMO, a limited mine operation permit, and presenting before you a conditional use permit application sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, I'd say. I'm sorry to be vague, but we're trying to be very cautious and careful and thorough in preparing and answering lots of questions, as many questions as we can ahead of time before sending a conditional use permit into you. So we're continuing to look at lots of potential issues and hope to have as many answers and ideas as we can before that comes before you. Just wanted to let you know we're continuing to move forward and anticipate sometime soon having a CUP in front of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paulette Bray. I live at 7150 Coates Road, and we have received quite a few more signatures on the petitions. We are approaching 10,500 right now. So just wanting to let you know that our numbers are going up, and we're still pushing against the gravel pit.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, good evening. My name is John Masterson. My address is 159 North Walcott. And I wanted to make a couple comments to you about the Woodbury Land and Livestock and Walt and Stephanie Woodbury. My disclaimer is that this is going to be tough because many of you are friends or acquaintances or colleagues who I've known a long time, and I'm gonna pick on you. Walt and Stephanie Woodbury own a great deal of land that is covered by what I will call the alleged County Road 505. There seems to be no question but that they own that land, and there seems to be no question but that the county, not you, the county writ large, has never gone through the process to make it a public highway, county road, dedicated, eminent domain, anything else. The Woodburys were concerned about a number of things out on the road. I won't get into that, but on May 23rd, we had what I would call a very good meeting with County Legal Department and Chairman Nicolason expressing views and opinions. It was a good meeting. On June 5th, we got an email that the offer that the Woodburys had made, somebody's got to start, you got to have an offer out of the chute, and the offer that was made was rejected. That's fine. No offer back. Nothing. I engaged in some brainstorming emails with the county council, trying to come up with some suggestions for you to consider to take to the Woodburys. I'm not going to invade, council can speak to that. In the absence of hearing anything back on any of that, on June 14th, I did a letter that you've probably seen because I hand-delivered it to your offices that indicated on tomorrow, June 19th, Mr. Woodbury intended to park his bulldozer on his property, and that you needed to be aware of that. That was done as a courtesy, because in my view, we're all from Wyoming, we're all from Casper, we're all from Natrona County. We don't want to spring something on you. We gave you some notice. And were we hoping to get something broken loose in terms of a discussion? Absolutely. In fact, in discussions with county council, we said we continue to be open to discussions, explained where the bulldozer was going to be parked so that people would not be cut off from the campgrounds, could still access the construction site, all that kind of stuff. It was, in our view, an attempt to get something started in terms of good faith negotiations. No response. Okay. Today, June 18th, I learned that an ex parte motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction has been filed in the district court here in Casper. It was filed yesterday. I've been representing the Woodburys for a little while. Clearly, I'm their counsel. We were not given a heads up that was coming. We weren't served a copy. Ex parte, for those of you who aren't particularly familiar with it, is when you ask a court to do something without giving the other side notice or the opportunity to comment or to be heard. I do not know if the district court judge is going to rule on that without hearing from the other side. I would suggest that for whatever reason, the county's strategy and the tactics have brought this to a boiling point. And I urge you, in the strongest of possible terms, to come to something
to start a discussion and a dialogue with these people who do not want to be a pariah, who do not want to do what, in their view, they are being forced to do in order to get something happening. I understand you have passed a resolution to begin the process of making this a county road. That's fine. That's your right. And you'll probably get it. But in the meantime, no one's going to profit from it. So I will appeal to the better angels of your nature and please help something get done in this. Like I said, it's tough. Your colleagues, your friends, your people I've known a long time. Most of you in this room didn't cause this, but you can prevent it. And I really, really hope you will. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Pat Sweeney, 951 North Kimball, here in Casper. Chairman, Commissioners, I was in the legislature when this particular subject matter came up. I believe I was on the Revenue Committee at that point. And so Wyoming Association of Municipalities had come to us several times on the Revenue Committee asking for some sort of dialogue and ways in which they could tax themselves revenue generators with our 99 municipalities. The objections were multiple from the County Commissioners Association. And so we were able to work through, over a period of time, some different pros and cons of who should be allowed, and it got very, very complicated in a short amount of time. But this is what we ended up with through negotiations between WAM and the County Commissioners Association. And unbeknownst to me was this 2-year stipulation. I believe Carter laid it out very well in your pre-meeting of what they can and can't do. And lo and behold, this 2-year limit, it doesn't act like a normal 6 cent, which will be limiting effect on what we can potentially do with that 6 cent. So I just, as a point of clarification, this was well heard by the legislature through committees and by the general body, and this is what we ended up with as a possibility. And it does have some clarifying things have to happen, the 6 cent, but this is allowed, obviously, by state statute, and I just wanted to add that clarification to you.
Commissioner North.
Pat, thank you for coming up. I do appreciate that. You know as well as everybody else that has ever read laws or been involved in making laws that there's always unforeseen things. And that's where my concern was the unforeseen thing. And a lot of times you don't know about it. You don't even think about it until it rises its head. And that's something that I hope we can get corrected in this.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner North.
Quick.
It obviously won't be me.
So we followed the law, didn't we?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, absolutely, and it's up to the citizens of Casper. And I'm sorry if there was confusion on other municipalities, but their answer on making the 5th cent was pretty notable. We only got support on that from Midwest Edgerton on that. And then when we did try the 6th cent for the water line in Midwest, trying to finish Midwest Street up, that also was a negative vote. So I think the city of Casper in particular has done what it can. And I hope the citizens of Casper will understand that as we move forward with the laundry list. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Commission, Mr. Chair, Greg Werger, 7,000 Coates Road, Casper, Wyoming. I just want to talk a little bit today. I can appreciate Mr. True coming up and saying that he's moving forward, and I want to assure you we are too. And as evidenced by more people finding out about this proposed gravel pit and signing our petition, donating to our cause, we've got a lot of money. It just doesn't make common sense for an MR1 zoning for somebody to carve our mountain up, whereas on my front porch, I can see the event center where we have the CNFR. So that means the CNFR can see our gravel pit if we put it in any one of those 7 sections up there. And rest assured, if it's economical to put it in one, we might as well put it in the other 6. And so I just want to make that point, and then I want to talk a little more about common sense. We have a cabin at Lake McConaughey, and they started to develop that. It became a real popular spring break spot. So a young student got drunk on a 4-wheeler and ran across top of a tent with other students in it. So what did Nebraska do? They said, okay, no more alcohol in the high water mark. No 4-wheelers, no ATVs. Now behind our cabin, if you have a souped up pickup, you can drive 100 miles an hour down the beach because he wasn't in a pickup. Does that make common sense? It just doesn't make any sense. You and I can't rent a walleye guide and drive out in his boat with him driving. We just have 2 fishing poles. We can't drink a beer out on the lake while we're walleye fishing. Does that make common sense? So I go to the CNFR. Ever since it's been up at the event center, I've had season tickets, and I go up, and I go in the door, and I forgot. I have a 1-inch blade pocket knife, and I have to go through the metal detector. Can you believe I have to walk back, a 70-year-old man has to walk back to his truck, put the pocket knife in my truck, and then come back and pass the metal detector. Now I can take 20 steps to the right and buy a knife, and I can take 30 steps to the left on the back wall and buy a hunting knife 8 to 10 inches long and put it in a sheath and put it on my belt. And every cowboy in this place, a freshman through sophomore, juniors and seniors that have anything to do with roping, has a little clip-on knife. Oh, I bought this at the CNFR after I got in there. And that just doesn't make common sense to me for us to spend money on metal detectors and put that in. Because why? A little Native American girl at one point after a basketball game, and they had a fight between her man and another guy, she jumped on one guy's back and stabbed him a couple times with a little pocket knife outside of the arena. That's why we have all these metal detectors, so we can't take a knife in. But everybody in there has a knife that's competing, or if you go to buy one. I'm talking common sense up on the face of this mountain, and I'd appreciate it. And I know it's emotional, it's not laws, but once you do get a CUP, that is a zoning law. And we've talked about that. They are laws and they are enforceable. And it doesn't make sense to carve the face of our mountain up and then at the same minute say we're going to bring people in to enjoy Casper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, my name is Tasma Powers, and I am a resident of Casper and Natrona County. First, I wanted to thank you for making the difficult decisions that you do and your commitment to our community. I am not here to talk about the MRG. Instead, I wanted to thank you for your decision on the 6 cent. I think that this was a good example of the separation of powers, and we are going to rely now on the Department of Revenue and the executive branch to properly administer this local tax. They say that they are ready, and we can hold them accountable as Natrona County taxpayers to make sure that they are doing that. It is apparently not as complicated as we might think, but we will see. We, as citizens who support the ability for Casper residents to vote on the 6 cent projects, we never intended to create a situation where there's taxation without representation to our neighbors outside of the city of Casper. And we are very respectful of that position, but at the same time feel that the executive branch is well suited to deal with that, and that we should not fear or limit progress because of a potential problem with the executive branch's execution of its duties. Secondly, as a mother of children who have left and hopefully will come back, sorry, I didn't know this is a bad time for moms. We need to invest in livability. I'm going to step on my toe and pull it together. This needs to be a place where people want to live, where our kids have the opportunities to do things that they see on the internet. And starting, I think, in 2012, when the library was voted down, I have questioned why I live here. And every time this comes up and fails, I question it. And I think that it's time that we recognize that we pay very low taxes, and I enjoy those low taxes, especially on tax days. But it's an imperative that we pay for ourselves. The McMurrays aren't going to do it for us every time. We don't have foundations that are going to do it for us every time. If we want these things, we need to pay for them. And it is time to make that happen for ourselves. We shouldn't limit the potential for growth. I think it's well suited with the menu of items. Citizens can vote up and down. Maybe visitors from our town will pay a larger portion of this than they have historically. There are all good reasons for us to make these hard decisions and do the right thing for our community. And this is the time. And I thank you guys for your support. I apologize for getting emotional. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others wishing to make public comment tonight? All right, well, seeing none, we will move to commissioner comments. Commissioner Laird.
I'm always happy to see all of y'all. And I appreciate your comments. And Tasma, I think you infected me a little bit. I'm kind of tearing up too because I'm going to make this short. As a commissioner, I want the best for the people of this county. Thank you.
Commissioner North.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out again tonight. There's been a lot of times since I've been up here on this bench that we had 2 or 3 people out in the audience, and they were usually reporters. And it's nice to see somebody other than reporters out there. So nothing against you guys, but nice to see other faces. You know, I do think this is a great place to live, and I do believe that Natrona County has a lot to offer. And it seems like this year there's been a lot of things that have come up, you know, a whole lot of things that have been out of the ordinary. And I've talked to some of the other candidates that are running for commissioner this year, pretty much all of them, and they've all got the same opinion, is that things are different than they used to be. You know, it's not the same now as what it has been in the past. There's so many new things that have come up that we have to deal with, and it's going to continue to happen with what we have going on in Washington, D.C., with everything that we've got coming across the southern border. There's a lot of changes, you know, and we have a lot that's going to be before us this next year. And I just hope you guys will stick with us and be patient as we make decisions, and hopefully we can do what's best for the county every time. But we all have different individuals, and we're all different mindsets on things, and so we're going to look at things a little bit differently. But that's the nice thing about having 5 guys up here, or 5 people up here, is that you're going to get a different perspective of everything, and hopefully that's a wide perspective. And so what one of us sees, another one may not see, and so it's a learning experience. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks.
Commissioner Friel.
Well, first of all, I want to start off by saying last week was CNFR, amazing show as usual. Obviously, he's not listening tonight, but Jim Dewey Brown, Commissioner of College Rodeo, put on an impeccable show. Record numbers again, record amount of money that came in on it, and it just continues year after year to grow. So I appreciate that. I do want to address the mayor of Evansville question that you brought up. Just kind of give you some background. When Mayor Edwards was in office, we had numerous conversations about a 6-cent tax and whether other municipalities would be behind the tax itself. They all came back and said that their councils had told them that they were not in favor of a 6-cent tax. Since then, the city then went on their own to put this to a vote of their voters. So to answer your question why you haven't been told about this in the last 18 months, I would simply say the decision had been made when Chad was in office that they were not going to participate in the 6-cent itself. And Casper moved forward on their own. And obviously, we just had our meeting with them today. So I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that decision was made by them months and months and months ago. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Mill.
Yeah, so tomorrow in Casper, interim meeting is being held by the Community of Finance legislators. to discuss further applications and uses of Amendment A rather than just the one option of using, requiring local entities to have to use WOW Star 3, the new iteration. I hope the legislative body will allow us, the county, to have greater ability to direct our own destiny, not have to rely on the state for our financial well-being, whether it's through direct distribution or whatever. It's not saying that we necessarily will use it, but it's the option. It's the option to try to fund some of this stuff that's going on, or at least save enough money so that we aren't at that point where we have to rely on the state to save us as a county. I have other comments, but I'll use discretion.
Thank you, Commissioners.